The Orlando Magic have been here before. Their goals still in front of them, but they cannot wait any longer. Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 28th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to assess where the Magic are at, where the Magic can truly wait for them to get themselves to get healthy, and what their options are to fix this or to inject something new into the group. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means one of our everydayers. That means you listen every single day, Monday through Friday. That means you listen on the weekends when you do weekend episodes. That means we are your first listen of the day. We are part of your daily podcast rotation. You are part of our everydayer club. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic such a big part of your day, making this Locked On Magic community so great. And thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Before Monday's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the graphic came out highlighting that the Orlando Magic have had the same record for the last 3 years, 23-21. That is perhaps a sign of the team's stagnation. That's perhaps a sign that the team is not making the progress that they hope. But I took it more of a sign that there is still possibility ahead of this team. After all, they won 47 games in 2024. I also took it as a sign that this is a tipping point for the Magic. This is a moment where we don't know the direction they are about to head. And that for all the hand-wringing, all the shuffling, all the frustration that this Magic team has had, that there is still opportunity to advance, but just as easily an opportunity to fall. And the loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers on Monday highlighted that very keenly, because not only was that a second straight loss to a team you are trying to chase down in the Eastern Conference standings, it is a loss that at least temporarily dropped you to 9th, not even in the 7-8 play-in game. Now, opportunity is still ahead of this team. They are still in the race. As optimistic, as naive as that sounds, the Magic are a game back of the Heat. They've played 2 fewer games, so tied in the loss column with the Heat. A big game on Wednesday in Miami. They are 1 loss behind the Philadelphia 76ers for 6th. Game and a half in the standings. Again, the Sixers have played 1 more game. They are, and the Sixers played that game tonight against Milwaukee. They are 3.5 games back of Cleveland, but 2 games in the loss column back from the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5th. They are 3 games in the loss column behind the Toronto Raptors, 4 games in the loss column behind the New York Knicks. And guess what? They still have 2 games against the Cavs. They still have 2 games against the Heat. They still have 2 games against Toronto. All opportunities that tell me the Magic still are in control of their own destiny. Is getting to the 3 seed impossible? No. Is it difficult? Yes. But the season, like it was in 2024, and like it is now, sits on the precipice. And the question is whether the Magic are going to right the ship or not. They have been here before. They have. They have battled these things before. They have overcome these things before. They have struggled with these things before. And the question is whether this team has it in them to do so. There is, of course, a key difference, a huge difference between this year's team and last year's team. Last year, the Magic were still second or third in the league in defensive rating. Despite all their issues, despite all the losses, they still had that elite defense to lean on. And so while I am generally an optimist, and I do believe that the Magic are close to cracking something, I have been encouraged by the last 2 games. I won't lie. But again, not good enough. The Magic have to find their identity first. And if they can find that identity, if they can be consistent, particularly on defense, which is supposed to be their identity, certainly it isn't their offense. It's not with the way that they shoot the ball. If they can find their identity, they can climb the standings again, just like they did in 2024. And just like they eventually did in 2025, although they took themselves out of the race. This was the part of the year last year that the Magic fell apart. It was around this time that the Magic were in the middle of losing 9 of 11 games. We saw that huge win against the Detroit Pistons literally exactly a year ago, the last time that Jalen Suggs was on the floor for the Orlando Magic in that season. And that's when the Magic, we officially got rid of those dreams of home court advantage. That's when the Magic officially could say, the 6th seed's going to be really hard. That's when we realized that this was a play-in team. And I guess the challenge now is to ask this team, is that who you are? Because guess what? I mentioned the teams above you, didn't mention the teams behind you. You're 1 loss ahead of the Chicago Bulls, and the Chicago Bulls have a 2-1 series, have a 2-1 series advantage over you, and you don't play the Bulls again until the second to last game of the season, the penultimate game. You want that game to be important, but not at Chicago's benefit against you. You don't want that to be a 6-pointer. This is a critical moment for Orlando. And clearly the team is feeling it. You know, clearly there is pressure on this team. Clearly the Magic are doing some soul searching and not finding some answers. Mo Wagner was on his podcast, which is in German. So thank you to YouTube Translator for translating some of this. And so I'll paraphrase. Mo Wagner said this team is got no chemistry issues. Everybody likes each other. There's no division in that locker room. There's frustration they can't solve this. They've had meetings. They've had player-only meetings, Mo Wagner reported. And nothing seems to be clicking. Now, again, you could read a lot into that and say, well, okay, then that's obviously there's a coaching problem. And I think we've discussed that ad nauseum to say that, yes, barring a miracle run that gets the Magic to the 4 seed, that gets the Magic deep into the playoffs, and probably at this point, conference finals deep into the playoffs, the Magic will address the coaching situation this offseason. I think that's obvious. Whether minds can disagree, whether a change now would mean anything or not. Now, I'd say as this losing streak continues, as the Magic continue to struggle, as the Magic continue to flounder, a coaching change just to like snap players into attention feels like a possibility and more of a possibility. Now, I would say I think that could be dangerous because this team's already pressing. This team's already searching. This team's already struggling. And I don't know how they would respond to that. This is still a young team that hasn't gone through significant adversity yet. That hasn't had to have this switch flipped the way that they've had it this year. And frankly, it does feel a little bit like the Magic thought this would be easy. That the Magic thought that things would just click into place the way they have before. The Magic do not have a top defense. They do not have the advantages that they had over the last 2 seasons when they were 23 and 21 that allowed them to make something of their last games of the season. But they've got all the tools. I still firmly believe that. They are playing with better energy. Paolo Banchero has taken a step forward and is playing like the star we all imagined he could be. There are pieces coming into place. The question is, how long can the Magic wait before they force some pieces into place? With that, we need to talk about the numbers that the Magic believe can save their season. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment.
Now, I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage, we got tuition, we got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
We want to thank you once again for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day. And we want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. The NBA trade deadline is basically here. We're going to get to a little bit of it at the end of today's episode. And we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Magic fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. I am in the Locked On Magic Discord. I am trying to find a way to get gift subscriptions to my other subscription services, so you only have to subscribe to one. But you'll also get ad-free versions of the show. And if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, that's next Thursday, you can use code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. The Orlando Magic aren't panicking. That is at least the sense I get organizationally. I think players are pressing. I think the players just need to find a way to loosen up. Like, honestly, like the #1 reason I am unconvinced that the Magic will fire Jamal Mosley before the end of the season, barring a complete catastrophe, is A, I don't think this team's quit on him. I don't think this team's quit on each other. But B, I think the last thing this team needs is more pressure, is more kind of scrutiny on them. They need to find a way to loosen up. And again, maybe Jamal Mosley isn't doing that. Maybe he's feeling the pressure too much and hasn't been able to loosen this team up. They need to find a way to loosen up and play freer. And again, that is on the coach to try and find ways to get players in the right mindset and do all that. They need to play free. You could just see them thinking out there too much. You could see them frustrated out there too much. And so I sense from the players, and again, I haven't seen them since Thursday because I wasn't at Saturday's game, but I'll be heading down to Miami Wednesday morning for that game. So I'm going to shoot around, but I don't sense like division. And I did ask Desmond Bane kind of directly about that on Thursday, about whether players are moving in the wrong direction. He said, no, like we're trying to do the right things. And I do agree with that. But I sense a lot of frustration on the court. Organizationally, though, like the Magic as an organization, as a franchise, I sense from them this call for patience. Whenever I talk to anybody within the Magic organization and just try and get a sense of where the mindset is, the only thing I am told is we've been missing 2 starters for almost the entire season. Of course, we're not living up to expectations. Now, again, like I find that excuse. I find that excuse to be both correct. Like, yeah, the Magic would be a lot better if they were healthy the entire year. But I also find it to be just avoiding the issue and avoiding the fact that there are bigger issues in this team than the injuries. And we can all plainly see them. I spent the first 4 minutes of this segment talking about one of them. And I think that this hope that the Magic will magically, pun intended, be healthy and betting on them to be healthy for the rest of the season, it's not that it's a mistake. Because, look, if Franz Wagner is really, like, close to back, if Franz Wagner is going to miss Wednesday's game, but if the plan is Franz will be back Friday, then okay. You held the boat steady. It sprung a few leaks here at the end. But get your guys going, get healthy, and see what happens. Because as the Magic tweeted out, or as Dan Savage of OrlandoMagic.com tweeted out, and stats that were also emailed to me, the trio of Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs have played in only 17 games in the last 2 seasons. That's 13.5% of their games entering Monday. In the 136 minutes they've been on the court together this season, Orlando shooting 52.2% from the floor and 38.3% from 3. More than respectable. In fact, it's even more than respectable. That main trio, Paolo, Franz, and Suggs, in 136 minutes across 11 games, has a plus 16.7 net rating with a 121.3 offensive rating and a 104.6 defensive rating. Now, I'll grant you that all came at the beginning of the season before this team started to feel a lot of this baggage. But as I've repeated over the course of the last few weeks, the Magic starting lineup is still really good. A plus 18 net rating in 117 minutes. They have the makings of a really good team. The problem has always come when they split the lineup, when they break the lineup, when they go to their bench and they split up their core players. Like, look, Paolo's on-off numbers are still really rough. Whether that's his fault or not, they're really rough. Numbers with Paolo and Dez together have been really rough. Those combinations haven't quite worked the way the Magic intended or the way the Magic hoped. The pieces, when they're all together, work, but as we've seen over the last 2 months, when you break apart some of those pieces, when you have to mix and match some lineups to fill in for injuries, things get really, really dicey. And so, yes, we could sit here and say, oh, well, the Magic have something in reserve. And I agree that they do. The question is, can they wait for it? Now, again, if the Orlando Magic know Franz Wagner is coming back Friday, or that he is not that much longer, and they're just kind of dotting their T's and crossing their I's, and I know I said that backwards. If they're just crossing their T's and dotting their I's, then okay. Patience is warranted because you're about to be fully healthy again. And yeah, Jalen Suggs has to work his way back because he shot 2 for 12 in the game on Monday. And yes, they need to let Franz Wagner get his legs under him because, look, he looked rough in those 2 games in Europe. That still suggests that once they're up and running, they will be fine. But this might have been the mistake of last season. This might be the mistake of last season all over again. I understood why the Magic stood pat at the trade deadline last year. They thought they were getting Jalen Suggs back, and that would be enough of a boost for them to make a push. It's the same argument we're hearing now. Get our guys back, and it's enough. Well, guess what? Like, this year's team doesn't have the same. doesn't have the same intensity, doesn't have the same precision, doesn't have the same vibe, doesn't have the same chemistry, on-court chemistry at least. They aren't the same as last year's team. And even last year's team could have used the boost. Could have used that point guard as much as we love Corey Joseph. Betting on a guy returning isn't going to cut it anymore. The Magic are at the tipping point, and they're tipping the wrong way. By the time we hit the trade deadline next Thursday, obviously the Magic are going to have some really tough games. This, through no fault of their own, might get a little worse before it gets better. We might see the positive signs that we want, and the Magic may find something heading into the All-Star break, because their schedule, the last 4 games heading in the All-Star break, are pretty manageable. These next 4 games are not. So again, I'm saying like 5-3 in the next 8 games would be a coup for the Magic. And they almost have to do that. But getting to the trade deadline and sitting still, that may not cut it. Because while, yes, Franz Wagner's return is a massive addition to the team, the Magic need more. And so it's time to do something that I didn't think we were going to be doing. I thought the Magic were going to be able to hold themselves steady and get where they need to go. But we got to do it. Who should the Magic be looking at? Not to salary dump, but to add to their team. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially closes. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone has been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Well, we'll have XFL and we'll have some indoor football league here in Orlando, but this is the last call for real football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. All in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Let's reset the trade deadline then, because we are a week away. Next Thursday is the trade deadline, and if you go around the internet, most of the predictions are that the Magic could be relatively quiet. It is expected the Magic will conduct a salary dump to get under the tax. Someone's going to take Tyus Jones. The Magic will get an embarrassing low offer for him, but the goal will be the goal, and that is to get under the tax. There's no reason to start the repeater clock. That is Tyus Jones' contract. If the Magic could do that, though, and with the way this season's gone and the way the last few weeks have gone, it really feels like the Magic need to add a little bit of offensive burst. it really does feel like they need to find some way, somehow, to just give them a little bit of a kick. Another guy who could attack off the dribble and really help them out. So obviously, Tyus Jones, if you're trading him in $7 million, that gets you under the tax. That gets you about $1.4 million under the tax. You'll be able to go out in the buyout market, sign someone in that 15th roster spot, which I do think the Magic will ultimately do. We have mostly said that the guys that the Magic are looking to trade are Goga Bitadze at $8.3 million and Jonathan Isaac at 15. Trading Jonathan Isaac's going to be really tough. I just don't see anyone going for him, but Goga Bitadze 8.3, that might get you something. Now, that something isn't going to be super high. The Magic don't have first-round picks to trade or don't have much to offer. They might like a guy like Ayo Dosunmu, who has been a solid shooter, only on a $7.5 million contract. So you could even, if you could salary dump Goga Bitadze or get a $3 million player for Goga Bitadze, get under the tax, you could even trade Tyus Jones for him. But what is Chicago looking for? They're in the race with Orlando, by the way. They're not necessarily going to want to just swap with the team that they're chasing, especially if they're still interested in making the playoffs. And it's even been kind of clear that maybe Chicago isn't as interested in trading him as we all thought. A lot of Magic fans and a lot of teams around the league want to go after Keon Ellis, who only makes $2.3 million. So if you could maybe convince Sacramento to take Tyus Jones and some second-round picks, you might be able to get Keon Ellis. But again, he's just so in demand. It's hard to see the Magic putting in the best offer. Now, Keon Ellis has been up and down, but he's been a solid shooter this year. Solid shooter, 36% this season, but 41.5% for his career. Excellent defender. Like, Keon Ellis should be the target for the Orlando Magic. If they could find a way to get him free from Sacramento, and he's been out of the rotation, they're not even playing him. But everyone around the league seems to believe, no, this guy is a contributor. This guy can help a playoff team. So I think Sacramento understands there's a market for him. Now, Sacramento acts irrationally sometimes, so maybe they don't. But if you're looking to add a player, if somehow Jeff Weltman found a way to get Keon Ellis for Tyus Jones and make that both the trade that dumps the salary to get the Magic under the tax and a trade that adds something important to this team, like, Jeff Weltman's going to get extended anyway, but sign the extension after immediately making the trade call. Like, that's how good that kind of a trade would be, because he is such a good defender. Well, where else are the Magic looking? We've talked about Malik Monk. I don't think the Magic would go after Malik Monk. They want some defenders. They want some better defense. Would they trade for Jeremy Sohan? I doubt it. Again, they don't really need the wings. They got Noah Penda they really like. I think they're trying to release that. I'm unconvinced that Colin Sexton is super available, especially with the way Charlotte's been playing lately. And again, especially for what the Magic really to offer. But you start going down the list, and unless you really want Cam Thomas, which I don't think you do, there aren't many players at the Magic's price level that you would go grab. Dennis Schroeder, like, maybe, but Schroeder's contract is really, really prohibitive. And I don't think the Magic want to get into the business of taking on big contracts. He's got $14.1 million this year, 2 more years after it. So again, if you really believe in Dennis Schroeder, and I know a lot of Magic fans do, and there's been at least some professional dot connecting to try and get the Magic to him, not sold he's the fit. Not sold he's the guy. Again, it is really hard to find the guy that fits all of the things the Magic need. Some good playmaking, the ability to get downhill, create their own shot, good three-point shooting, solid defense, and the salary that reduces their payroll enough to get them under the tax and doesn't cost them so much because they're in the second apron next year. Now, if there's a player out there the Magic really want and know, hey, we're never going to be able to sign a guy like this, this is the time to do it. And again, number one goal at the trade deadline, you're going to hate me for saying this with all the chaos going on with the Magic and all the things that we're all frustrated with. The number one goal for the Magic is to get under the tax. I know that's not exciting. I know that's boring. I know that isn't what you want to hear, but the Magic do not want to start paying the repeater tax. This trade deadline will be a failure, not because the Magic didn't add something to the roster. And believe me, like, I'm a big believer right now that the changes that the Magic need this offseason are more than cosmetic. It's not just about adding a new coach. They need to readdress their supporting cast around their core four. And that might mean looking at the Wendell Carter trade market. That might mean you don't bring Mo Wagner back. I don't think it should. I think you should bring Mo Wagner back. That means you're going to have to trade something that you think is valuable to get the thing that you actually need. And again, some of that, what they do might come down to also their coach and who they, again, if they fire Jamal Mosley, because that's not certain. It feels like it should be, but it's not. If they change coaches this summer, that coach is going to have input. Like, honestly, like, and we'll get to this in the offseason, I suppose. Number one thing I would want a new coach to do is come in to the interview, not to the job. Come into the interview with opinions on every single one of the Magic's players, how they're going to be used, whether they fit into what he envisions or not. And if they don't fit in, ship them out. Go find the player that fits what you're trying to do. Because ultimately, that's where we're at, is the pieces don't fit into the squares they're supposed to go in right now. They just don't. And so the problem is deeper than the coach. There's a roster problem here. Young players the Magic are counting on, and again, I don't think you abandon young players without good reason. Young players the Magic are counting on aren't playing consistently and aren't stepping up. The injury replacements and the players having to step into new roles because of the injuries, they're not stepping up. And so the Magic have to ask themselves, well, how do we get where we want to go? And again, that's you think to win a championship. I do think we're at the point, and the Magic could, get burned 5 of these next 8. Magic could win 3 of the next 4 before the All-Star break, before the trade deadline. And I would still say this. We are at the point the Magic do need to start being aggressive at this deadline. Yes, get under the cap. Yes, get under the tax. That is goal number 1. But they cannot sit still and expect this to get better. Like Mo Wagner said on his podcast, they have done everything they can to talk their way through this, and they haven't found answers. That means the answers are external. That means the answers have to come from the outside. And yes, a new coach would be that. You're not getting a new external coach. The system's going to be the same. There's nothing that they can't try right now that they wouldn't. There's nothing that they can't try right now that they wouldn't try under a new coach. Like if Joe Prunty were to be the interim coach, he should be telling Jamal Mosley what they should be doing. And hopefully Jamal would listen. If Jamal's not listening and thinks, no, the offense is fine, we just need to do things better, that's not a solution either. Magic need to play better, need to make open shots. So I get all that. But that, playing better isn't a solution. Like, we do need actionable solutions here. And that's not just for the coaching staff. That's not just for the players. It's for management. The Magic aren't going to sit still at this deadline. They're going to do something to get under the tax. Again, this deadline is only a failure if they don't get under the tax. They're not going to do something drastic either. I don't see them trading Wendell Carter. I really don't. He has been rock solid for them this season. Offense inconsistent, sure. But he's been rock solid for them defensively. Unless the upgrade is so clear that they don't have a choice. I've seen some people pitch it at Claxton, and I'm not a fan, but I don't think it's crazy. I don't see them doing something major. I see them trying to tweak their bench. And it may only take one guy. It may only take a Keon Ellis and just another energy guard to help them out. That's all it may take. But they can't sit still. They can't wait for this team to get healthy. They can't expect things to be better magically. They've got to do the work. And that is, again, the coaching staff being more proactive about solutions. That is the players executing their jobs and doing their roles. And that is management hunting for ways to actually improve this roster. That is the lesson today. Things won't magically happen. You got to do stuff to create change because guess what? It's been 21 games. It's been a quarter of the season. This is who this team is. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of the ways to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub, or join our Everydayer Club at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. In the Everydayer Club, you get access to our Everydayer Club Discord server, plus you get ad-free audio of this podcast. I am attempting to make my Patreon available to Everydayer Club subscribers as well. We're going to see if I can get that to work. Going cross platforms. It's a lot. But I want to thank you all for supporting my subscription services, hoping to give you a little bit more for just a little bit of extra money. But I appreciate everyone for jumping in and being part of the crew. Now that you're done listening to us, go check out the Locked On NBA show. You can find that on our 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel, which is where you'll be going if you're watching on video, or go to NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA for your second listen on audio. Busy night in the NBA. They have it completely covered for you every single night. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We will be back tomorrow from the Kaseya Center or from my hotel in Miami. But we'll be back tomorrow to chat about the Magic's game against the Miami Heat. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.